I knew Filipino weddings were warm, big, and full of food. But no one told me they were basically emotional marathons mixed with comedy shows and a buffet that never ends. When I first got invited, I thought I was prepared. I even practiced saying, "Congratulations, Po," in the mirror, like it was a school presentation. I had no idea what was waiting for me. The invitation came from a Filipino family I'd grown close to after moving to the Philippines. I lived in Cebu, a place where people say, "Hi ma, am I to you even if you are not a ma, am," and where strangers smile at you like old friends. I thought I had already adjusted to Filipino life, but this wedding, this was something else entirely. On the day of the wedding, I woke up early because I heard Filipinos treated punctuality differently. My Ukrainian punctuality is like sharp military efficiency. 10 zaur means 10 sao. But the moment I stepped outside, dressed in a blue floral dress, I realized I'd made my first mistake. I arrived on time. The church was nearly empty. There were only a few titas fanning themselves, a baby eating something unidentifiable, and one Lola who gave me a suspicious but friendly squint, the kind of look that says, "Who are you, anak?" I checked the invitation again. Yes, right church, right date, right time, but I forgot the hidden Filipino rule. If the wedding says 3 daws, everyone arrives at 4 hows, except the Ukrainian girl. So I sat in the pews alone while the titas whispered about me in Tagalog. I caught a few words I understood. Maganda, foreigner, sino yan. I pretended I didn't hear. I just hugged my small purse and prayed that my makeup wouldn't melt in the heat. Slowly, more people entered. Everyone seemed to know each other, and every person did the same thing. Greeting, cheek-to-cheek air kissing, and that special Filipino sound of happiness, the loud, "Hi," when they see someone they like. When the groom's family arrived, the entire church erupted with noise. When the bride's family arrived, it got louder, like someone had turned up the volume on life. That was when I realized something beautiful. Filipino weddings aren't events. They are reunions disguised as ceremonies. It felt like every auntie, cousin, and neighbor from 3 provinces came to witness this couple's love story. When the bride entered, I felt myself staring like I'd never seen a wedding before. She was stunning, not just because of her gown, but because of the smiles around her. Filipinos don't quietly admire the bride. They gasp, cheer, wipe tears, and whisper, "Ang ganda," with full emotion. Even the men had soft eyes. I watched from my seat, overwhelmed. In Ukraine, weddings are beautiful too, but they're more sober, more traditional, more quiet in a structured way. Here in the Philippines, a wedding is like a warm volcano erupting with feelings. When the couple exchanged vows, I understood maybe 40% of the Tagalog, but I understood 100% of the emotion. Every "mahal kita," every "pangako ko," every trembling voice made my chest swell. Even the priest was emotional. He was practically giving a motivational speech to all single people in the room. Next came the part Filipinos take very seriously: photos. I thought it would take 10 minutes. It took 1 hour. Every group needed a photo. Bride and groom with parents, with siblings, with titas, with titos, with the barangay captain, with a random neighbor who happened to walk in, with the Ukrainian girl who didn't know how she ended up in 3 different group photos but smiled anyway. Isa pa. Last na, promise. Wait, flash. Flash never happened. It was always one more. But honestly, it felt sweet. Everyone wanted to be part of the memory, and no one felt shy. After the church ceremony, we followed the convoy to the reception. A convoy in the Philippines is not a simple drive. It is an adventure. People honk with excitement, lean out windows waving, and play music on full blast. I, of course, did not honk. I just held on because Filipino driving makes Mario Kart look slow. When we reached the reception hall, I walked inside and immediately realized why everyone loves Filipino weddings. The food. My God, the food. There was a whole lechon on display. The crispy golden skin glistened like treasure. There were trays of pancit, lumpia, kare-kare, caldereta, sinigang, fried chicken, and 2 rice stations, because one is never enough. Even the desserts made me emotional. Halo-halo, leche flan, sapan-sapan, mango float, and something purple that I later learned was uba. I didn't know purple could taste like love. I filled my plate like I was preparing for a typhoon. No one judged. In fact, the titas encouraged me. Kumain ka pa, hija? More rice. You're too skinny. Try mo ito, masarap. If there is one thing Ukrainians and Filipinos share, it is this. We show love through food, and we expect you to eat until you can't breathe. While eating, I looked around the room. Laughter everywhere. Kids running, parents chatting, grandparents smiling with pride, and the couple in the center, glowing with the warmth of all the people who loved them. Then came the performances. I thought Filipinos would dance. I didn't know they would dance emotionally. There was a choreographed number by the groom's friends, a combination of comedy, TikTok moves, and heartfelt dedication. Then the bride's cousins performed a dance that made the entire crowd scream with pride. And of course, there was karaoke. Even at weddings, Filipinos will always sing. The bride's father sang Ikaw with so much emotion that even I felt like I was his daughter. The groom's mother sang Bituing Walang Ningning and hit a high note that made the titas shout, "Whoa!" Then the newlyweds danced. Everyone watched with the softest eyes. Filipinos are not afraid to feel, not afraid to show affection, not afraid to love loudly. I felt something shift in my chest. Ukrainians love deeply too, but we tend to be more reserved, more controlled, more careful with emotions in public. Filipinos, they wear their hearts like bright lanterns. Toward the end of the reception, someone asked me, "Nag-enjoy ka ba?" Did I enjoy? I felt my face warm with the biggest smile. Yes, I said softly. More than I expected. When the couple left for their exit, everyone lined up outside the venue holding sparklers. The light danced in the warm air. People shouted blessings, laughter, inside jokes, and last-minute advice like, "Don't sleep angry," and "Make many babies." When the newlyweds walked through the sparkling tunnel of love, I felt tears sting my eyes. Not because I knew them well, but because I felt the power of what I witnessed. A love not only between two people, but among families, friends, and an entire community. After the wedding, I returned home with leftover lechon in a plastic container, a small bag of giveaways, and a heart that felt fuller than before. I didn't just attend a wedding. I entered a culture where love is shared, where joy is loud, where food is a language, and where strangers become titos and titas in just one afternoon. I lay in bed that night thinking, if this is what Filipino celebrations feel like, what must Filipino life feel like every day? And in that moment, without meaning to, I fell a little more in love with the Philippines. After the Filipino wedding that changed my entire understanding of joy, emotion, and culinary danger, I thought I had seen it all. I believed I was now, somehow, professionally trained in Filipino gatherings. I survived lechon temptation, karaoke battles, and the mysterious Filipino timetable. But I was wrong. There are many levels to Filipino celebrations. The wedding was just level 1. Level 2 arrived the following week in the form of a birthday. My friend, a cheerful Cebuana named Ange, invited me to her nephew's 7th birthday. I thought, okay, a children's birthday party. Cute. Simple. Maybe some balloons, maybe a small cake. I did not understand the gravity of 7th birthday in the Philippines. When I arrived at the venue, a barangay gym, I thought I had mistakenly walked into a concert. There were speakers the size of refrigerators, lights flashing, and a man in sunglasses holding a microphone like he was at a boxing match. "Welcome everyone!" he boomed. Children screamed. Confetti exploded. A giant inflatable Jollibee mascot danced violently in the corner. This was not a party. This was a festival for a tiny human. I held my small gift, a little toy car, and immediately felt underdressed in the gift department. Lolos and Lolas walked in carrying boxes as big as microwaves. One tita even brought a bike. The birthday boy, wearing a little suit and holding a Power Ranger sword, was being treated like royalty. He waved at everyone with serious presidential energy. I loved him instantly. Then the food arrived. I thought it would be small snacks. No. There were trays and trays of pancit, spaghetti, fried chicken, menudo, barbecue sticks, hot dogs with marshmallows stabbed through them, which I still don't fully understand but somehow love, And of course, rice, mountains of rice. When I sat down to eat, a tita appeared behind me like a food guardian angel. "Kumain ka pa day," she said, piling more spaghetti onto my plate even though I didn't ask for it. I tried to explain I was full. She only raised an eyebrow, which translated to, "No one is full at a Filipino event until the titas say you are full." After eating enough to feed a small European village, the games began. Filipino party games are not normal. They are intense, dramatic, slightly chaotic, and absolutely amazing. There was Trip to Jerusalem, a musical chairs battle that nearly caused two titas to fight, Bring Me, where a tito ripped his own sock off trying to win, and the iconic Pabitin, where children jumped violently to grab dangling prizes. At one point, a child flew past me like a small superhero. I realized Filipino kids are athletic because they train for Pabitin every year. Then came the part I feared. I was invited to join the games. Ukrainian! Ukrainian! Join! Join! Suddenly, everyone shouted like I was being drafted into the Olympics. Before I could protest, a tito handed me a balloon and explained something in fast Cebuano while blowing a whistle. The game? Pop the balloon, using your body. I considered running away, but the children surrounded me like an excited audience. So I tried. I smashed the balloon against a chair, against the table, against my own knee. Nothing worked. Then a tita shouted, "Gamitin mo, puwet mo!" Use your butt. I have never popped a balloon this way in my life. The entire barangay watched me. I took a deep breath, prayed to all Ukrainian ancestors, and sat on the balloon with heroic determination. Pop! The crowd screamed like I had won Miss Universe. That moment changed me. I became a Filipino party warrior. When the party ended, I took home a loot bag with marshmallows, candies, stickers, and a tiny notebook shaped like a chicken. I still have no idea how that notebook is related to the theme, but it made me smile. I thought I could rest. Nope. The next week, I was invited to a baptism. The invitation came with an interesting warning. Eat before you go, but also don't eat before you go, which confused me even more. When I arrived at the church for the baptism, the atmosphere was different from the wedding and birthday, calmer, gentler, with a soft, holy glow. The baby, a tiny chubby girl named Sophia, wore a long white gown and had the attitude of a queen who just woke from a nap. Filipino babies are born with charisma, I swear. The priest spoke in both English and Cebuano. He poured water on the baby's head, while the family took about 1,000 photos from every angle. When the water touched her head, the baby made a tiny dramatic gasp, and the entire family reacted as if she had performed a miracle. Ay, ang cute! Ay, look at her! Ay, picture, picture! I was invited to be one of the baby Ois Ninangs, godmothers, even though I had met the family twice. That's Filipino hospitality. Hello, do you want more food? Also, do you want to be part of our family forever? I said yes, of course. Being a ninong meant two things. 1, I was now spiritually bonded to baby Sophia. 2, every birthday I must send money. After the ceremony, we went to the baptism reception, and that was when I understood the warning from earlier. Filipinos eat before the event, but also prepare to eat more after the event. The reception was a feast again. Lechon again, spaghetti again, sweetened desserts again, rice again. My body was becoming 40% rice. The titas approached me with more food. I tried to decline politely, but they laughed like I told a joke. One tito asked, "Do Ukrainians eat this much?" I answered, "Not unless we're preparing for winter or an emotional crisis." He laughed so hard he almost dropped his halo. Then baby Sophia was passed around like a celebrity. Everyone wanted a picture with her, and somehow she ended up in my arms too. I held her, feeling her tiny breaths, her warm skin, and that magical softness babies have. She stared at me with her big eyes, then grabbed my hair and drooled on my shoulder. I felt honored. After the baptism, I thought I had finally experienced all types of Filipino events. But then came the biggest one of all, a fiesta. Nothing prepared me. A fiesta is not a party. It is not a celebration. It is not a gathering. It is a national sport. When Anj invited me to visit her province for fiesta, I imagined a small town parade and maybe some dancing. But when we arrived, the whole barangay was transformed into a universe of lights, banners, music, and enough grilled food to feed entire Ukraine. The streets smelled like pork barbecue, roasted corn, and hot oil. Vendors sold balloons, toys, street food, halo, and something called I saw, chicken intestines. I stared at it like it was a math problem I couldn't solve. Ange told me to try it. I told her Ukrainians don't usually eat intestines unless we are very drunk. She laughed and bought me a stick anyway. I tried it. It tasted like something my ancestors would question, but I survived. I actually enjoyed it after the fourth bite. People danced in the streets, teens played loud music. A live band performed emotional love songs that made the Titas cry and the Titos drink beer. Kids ran around wearing costumes. There were fireworks, parades, and something called street boodle fight. This was the moment I truly understood Filipino community culture. A boodle fight is when everyone, kids, adults, titas, titos, stands around a long table covered with banana leaves and eats with their hands. Rice, seafood, chicken, veggies, everything goes straight on the table. No plates, no shame, no rules. People invited me to join even though I was a complete stranger. I washed my hands and joined the feast. Eating with hands felt primal and joyful and surprisingly elegant when done Filipino style. A lolo next to me said, "This is how we show love. Always eat together." I smiled. Rice stuck to my palm. It was messy, chaotic, and beautiful. Later that night, I watched families dancing in the street under colorful lights. Children slept on their moms' shoulders. Couples held hands. Neighbors shared drinks. The entire barangay pulsed with warmth. I felt a lump in my throat, a feeling of familiarity, even though I was an IT from here. It reminded me of summers in my Ukrainian town, when people danced at festivals and laughed freely. But there was something different here, deeper, louder, more open. Filipinos didn't just celebrate events, they celebrated life. At one point, Anja's mom approached me with a small plate of kakanin. "Try this day. This is biko." I took a bite. Sweet, sticky, comforting. It tasted like a hug from a grandmother. As I ate, I realized something strange. I didn't feel like a guest anymore. I felt like I belonged. Strangers talked to me like I was part of the family. Kids hugged me. Lolas asked if I had a Filipino boyfriend. People offered me food like it was their mission from the heavens. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something I hadn't expected in a foreign country. Home. It hit me all at once. The kindness, the laughter, the wild parties, the never-ending food, the emotional singing, the rice that follows you everywhere, the way Filipinos pull you into their world with no hesitation. My heart felt full. Too full. So full that tears slipped out of the corner of my eyes without warning. Ange noticed immediately. She touched my shoulder gently. "Uy, why are you crying?" I laughed through the tears. "Because this is all so beautiful." She smiled, a soft, knowing smile only Filipinos have. "Welcome to the family." And just like that, I realized part of me no longer felt like a Ukrainian living in the Philippines. The sun was just beginning to dip below the palm trees, casting long golden shadows across the narrow streets of the barangay. I sat on a small wooden bench outside Anja's house, watching children chase each other with kites in one hand and ice cream in the other. The air smelled of roasted corn, sweet halo, and the faint tang of the sea in the distance. I had been in the Philippines for several months now, long enough to taste its food, laugh at its humor, cry at its warmth, and begin to understand why people here carried joy so effortlessly in their bones. Yet, despite all I had experienced, I knew there was still so much to learn. I thought back to my first days, stepping off the plane with my suitcase, my curiosity and anxiety in equal measure. I had arrived with only vague notions of the culture, smiling people, vibrant festivals, and the strange, seemingly infinite variety of rice dishes. I had no idea that the lessons I would learn here would go far beyond culinary skills, or the ability to join a karaoke battle without shame. Every event, every encounter, had taught me something profound about the Filipino spirit. Weddings had shown me the depth of family loyalty and the lengths people go to celebrate love. Birthday parties had revealed an intensity and energy that made even small children feel like royalty, and yet everyone, from the smallest tot to the oldest lolo, shared an unmistakable sense of unity. Baptisms had opened my heart to ritual and tradition, and fiestas had broken my preconceived notions about structure, timing, and personal space. I smiled as I thought of the countless titas and titos who had insisted I eat more, and more, as though offering sustenance was the truest form of love. I had learned that in the Philippines, food was never just food. It was a bridge, a language, a declaration of care. A plate of spaghetti or a slice of lechon carried messages that words often failed to express. The generosity of strangers had become a kind of daily miracle, small but transformative, making me feel at home even though I was far from mine. Humor, too, had become a key to understanding life here. Filipinos laughed easily, not just at jokes, but at themselves, at awkward moments, at challenges that might otherwise seem daunting. I had laughed until I cried while participating in games that defied logic, eaten strange street foods without fear, and attempted Tagalog phrases that came out as mangled but somehow endearing syllables. And each time, someone would smile at me, correct me gently, and continue laughing alongside me. It was a collective understanding that life was meant to be enjoyed, shared, and celebrated, even in its imperfections. One afternoon, as I walked through the bustling streets of Cebu City, I found myself reflecting on the Filipino concept of pakikisama. At first, it seemed simple, being sociable, friendly, cooperative. But over time, I realized it was much deeper. An understanding that relationships are built on mutual respect, shared effort, and the willingness to find harmony even in disagreement. I had seen it in action countless times. Neighbors helping neighbors, friends supporting each other in small and large ways, strangers becoming instant allies in moments of crisis or celebration. I remembered a particularly chaotic fiesta in a small coastal town. The streets were lined with vendors selling everything from grilled seafood to colorful balloons. Children darted between stalls, laughter mingling with the strains of live music. At one point, a sudden rainstorm drenched everyone, sending people scattering. But instead of panic or anger, the community banded together. Makeshift tents were erected, drinks and snacks were shared under tarps, and someone immediately began singing, prompting a spontaneous dance in the rain. I joined in, soaked to the bone, and realized that this willingness to embrace life fully, even when circumstances were inconvenient, was a defining trait of the people here. It was in moments like these that I began to see parallels between love and community. Filipino men, whom I had observed in daily life and during celebrations, embodied a kind of loyalty and gentleness that struck me deeply. Their humor was not just entertainment, it was a balm, a way of easing tension and fostering connection. Their dedication to family and friends was unwavering, and yet it was never oppressive. It was inclusive, inviting, and often quietly heroic. I began to understand why so many foreigners fall in love with the Philippines, not just for its scenery, but for the people themselves. My own romantic life had taken unexpected turns during my time here. Initially, I had arrived with a sense of caution, expecting to observe rather than participate in the local dating culture. But the warmth and openness I witnessed daily gradually drew me in. Conversations flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and teasing, as if the barrier of language and culture were made irrelevant by the sincerity of connection. I learned that Filipino courtship was not just about gestures or gifts, but about presence, patience, and the small, consistent ways one shows care. I thought of the evenings spent in the quiet of Ange's neighborhood, sitting on a porch with a gentle breeze, sharing stories, snacks, and laughter with friends and neighbors. I remembered learning to cook local dishes alongside enthusiastic titas, my fingers sticky with rice and sauce, and my heart full of gratitude for their patience and guidance. I remembered being included in family prayers, attending community meetings, and feeling the embrace of a culture that genuinely valued relationships above all else. Humor continued to be a constant companion. I had stumbled over Tagalog phrases countless times, calling a lolo grandmother by mistake, confusing sige na with a challenge to fight, mispronouncing pasalubong in ways that elicited uncontrollable giggles. But each error was met with patience, teasing, and encouragement. never derision. I realized that humor here was intertwined with empathy, a way to teach, bond, and uplift, rather than to exclude or ridicule. One night, during a small gathering of friends, I observed something remarkable. A group of children was trying to light lanterns in the backyard. The wind kept blowing them away, threatening to ruin the delicate paper structures. Adults gathered around, instructing, supporting, and laughing together. I watched as a Tito carefully guided a child's hands, while a Tita held another lantern steady. The children cheered when their lanterns finally caught the wind and floated skyward. I felt a lump in my throat. Here was a visual representation of community, patience, and shared triumph. And here I was, a foreigner, allowed to witness and participate in it. The lessons I had learned extended beyond festivities and celebrations. I noticed how Filipinos approached everyday life with a balance of pragmatism and optimism. A sudden downpour would be met with a quick adjustment of plans and an acceptance of circumstance, paired with a resilience that I found enviable. Complaints were few, laughter abundant, and generosity never questioned. In Ukraine, I had grown up learning to value order, efficiency, and sometimes quiet stoicism. Here, I was learning to value joy, spontaneity, and the power of togetherness. Even language itself became a lens through which I understood the culture. Words like bahala na, often translated as come what may, carried a deeper sense of trust and courage. Utang na loob, the idea of a debt of gratitude, revealed the moral and emotional threads binding relationships together. Haya, the subtle understanding of shame and propriety, guided behavior in ways that nurtured respect and consideration. Every phrase, every idiom, every expression was like a key unlocking a richer understanding of human connection. I remembered my own blunders with these phrases. One time, I had accidentally used bahala na during a cooking session, implying indifference rather than trust, and everyone had laughed so hard I thought I might collapse. Another time, I had misunderstood utang na loob as a literal debt and panicked over a tiny favor. Each mistake was a lesson, each correction a gift of patience and care. Romance, community, food, language, laughter. They were all intertwined in a tapestry of experience that had reshaped me. I had arrived in the Philippines as a visitor, curious and cautious, and I was leaving with a sense of belonging I had never anticipated. My heart had expanded to include new rituals, new expressions, and new relationships. I had learned that love was not only about romantic connection, but about the way people care for one another, celebrate together, and find joy in ordinary moments. In the quiet of the evening, I reflected on how much I had grown. I no longer approached Filipino culture as an outsider, hesitant and unsure. I had embraced it fully. The chaos of fiestas, the warmth of family gatherings, the humor in miscommunication, the generosity in every meal, the depth of respect and connection. I had been challenged, humbled, and transformed. And in that transformation, I found a profound gratitude. I was grateful for the children who taught me resilience through games and laughter, for the titas and titos who fed me with hands and hearts wide open, for the friends who guided me through customs and celebrations, and for a culture that had shown me the beauty of living fully loving generously and embracing life with both humor and heart. As the night settled in and the distant sound of karaoke drifted through the air, I realized something. The Philippines had not only changed the way I viewed another culture, it had changed the way I viewed myself. I had learned to laugh more freely, to eat more boldly, to celebrate more openly, and to cherish the bonds that make life meaningful. I had learned that love, humor, and community are universal languages, and that even a stranger in a foreign land can feel the warmth of belonging when it is offered with sincerity. I looked up at the stars, each one a tiny spark in the vast sky above the island. I thought of the countless celebrations I had attended, the countless meals I had shared, the countless moments of laughter and learning, and I knew with a certainty that warmed me from the inside that this journey, messy, chaotic, delicious, joyful, and heartwarming, would stay with me forever. I smiled, feeling the last traces of sunset fade from the streets. I had come as a visitor, curious and hesitant, and I was leaving as someone profoundly changed, someone who had learned the power of humor, hospitality, and heart. The Filipino way of life had become part of me, shaping the way I love, live, and see the world. And in that moment, I whispered to myself, softly and sincerely, "Thank you, Philippines, for everything."